Hi, all. A very, very warm welcome to today's session. The session is the basic understanding and prevention of child sexual abuse, which is brought to you by First Cry Parenting. Let's wait for some time and let people log in. Oh, lovely. It's great to see people logging in and joining. Thank you so much, because in today's time it's difficult to remove time from daily work, office work. So yeah, really appreciate that. Oh, lovely. So we have quite a few people, and I think we can begin without wasting any time. So, hi again. I am Neha Sharma, and I work in an organization called Arpan, which works on the issue of child sexual abuse. Today, we will be talking about this sensitive topic, yet a very, very important topic. And if at any point you feel overwhelmed or you feel heavy, please feel free to take a break and join back later. Yeah. So, your first thoughts, when you hear the word child sexual abuse, maybe, oh, it doesn't happen that frequently, or, I'm very careful with my child, I really take care of my child, it won't happen to us, or it happens, but it doesn't happen in family like ours. These are some very normal and some first thoughts which can come to your mind as a parent. But the fact remains that the CSA, every second child in India is impacted by child sexual abuse. Yes, you heard me right. हर दूसरे बच्चे के साथ किसी ना किसी फॉर्म में चाइल्ड सेक्सुअल अब्यूज़ कभी ना कभी भारत में हुआ है. And these are not statistics which I am making up, which I am telling you, but this is based on a government report, a government study which was done in 2007. Yeah, so it's extremely shocking, yes, and there is a need to work and keep our children protected. Yeah, so welcome again, all dear friends, parents, caregivers. Today's session, we will be talking about what is child sexual abuse, its various forms, how can we prevent our children, how can children take care of their own safety, and most important, just become vigilant, become aware about the issue. So, without any further ado, let's get started. If you feel this information will add value, so please do not hesitate to share the link with other friends and family. Yeah. So let's begin by understanding what exactly is child sexual abuse. Yeah. So if I have to define child sexual abuse, I would say that it's any act using a child for sexual gratification of a more powerful person. Yeah. So let's break this definition into four parts and understand it in a more clear terminology. When I say any act, I will come to that act portion a bit later, but first I'll say any act using a child. That means child. Who is a child? Child is someone who is below the age of 18 years of age. Yeah, using a child for sexual gratification. Now, what is sexual gratification? Sexual gratification is basically sexual satisfaction which a person draws in any kind of sexual activity. Yeah. And who is a more powerful person? Now, this is a bit tricky. Whom do you think is a more powerful person? You can just put it in the comments section and I can see. But let me define it right now. Any person who can exercise power over the child for various reasons. Yeah. Now, these reasons could be, for instance, trust. If the person is in position of trust, which means that the person is trustworthy to the child, could be someone known, could be someone, could be a person whom the child really trusts, a teacher or a family member or a neighbor or a friend, family friend, and so on. Yeah, could be someone who is elder than the child, so age comes into play. Then sex, class, caste, education, charisma. Someone who has a very, very pleasing personality, or someone who has a very, very strong background, could be educational background, could be political background, and so on. So someone who can exercise power over that child. Yeah. So let's go back to the definition now. It was any act using a child. So a child is used for the sexual gratification of a powerful person. Yeah. Now, it's very, very important to understand that abuse doesn't happen instantly or just accidentally. That doesn't happen. Abuse happens in a planned manner, in a way that the abuser prepares the child or the family for the abuse to take place. Yeah. So for example, fulfilling their needs, gaining their trust, giving gifts, taking out time with the child, spending some time alone with the child. All these are ways abuser actually plans the abuse, and therefore abuse happens much before the actual touch or the actual sexualization in a relationship happens. It starts happening much before that. Yeah. So that is how we define sexual abuse. Now, when I say any act, I'll give you some situations, and you can just write down in your comments section whether it's abuse or it's not abuse. So, for example, when an adult is making a child watch porn clip in their mobile, is it abuse? Yes, no. Just write it down. Or probably watching a child undressing, watching a child changing clothes. Is that abuse? Yes, no. Or joking about child or child's private body parts. You realized in all the situations I mentioned, there was no touching which was involved. There was no contact, yeah? But these are all forms of non-contact sexual abuse. So yes, sexual abuse can also occur when there is no contact or there is no physical intimacy between the two people. It can occur, yeah. And the other form is, which is much more common, which comes to our mind, which is contact abuse, wherein there is contact between two parties, the child and the powerful person. So it could be any form of sex, could be penile, vaginal, could be anal sex, oral sex, could be touching child's private body parts. It could also mean the other way, where the powerful person is asking the child to touch their private body parts, or anything for that matter, like fondling with the body, but getting sexual gratification out of it. So the intention here is extremely important. If the intention is to draw satisfaction by doing any activity, whether it involves touch or it doesn't involve touch, it comes under the purview of child sexual abuse. Yeah. Now these days, our children are spending a lot of time online, be it because of the classes or because of the lockdown. They can't go outside, so automatically screen time for a lot of our children has automatically increased. Yeah. So online also your child can be abused. How can they be abused online? Well, there are various ways. One is obviously when the children are shown inappropriate images or videos or content. The child can be humiliated or insulted online in a sexual manner. Child's embarrassing photos can be shared online, or something like texting, which means that sending or receiving of images which are sexual in nature, or videos, or any kind of a content. The abuser can also blackmail the child online, which is called sextortion, which means they have some private information or some private videos or photos of the child, and then they would just blackmail the child for their own personal gains. Could be financial, could be anything. Yeah. Also encouraging the child to create sexual content, so asking the child to maybe undress in front of the camera and so on. So these are various ways through which online abuse also is taking place. So till now we have spoken about, if I do a recap for people who are constantly joining with us, that one, we spoke about what is sexual abuse, which is any act of using a child for sexual gratification of a more powerful person. Then we spoke about types of sexual abuse, which includes contact abuse, non-contact abuse, which is talking or looking, or just talking or looking, at private body parts, or making the child do the same, or making him watch some pornography video, and so on. And then we spoke also about online abuse, how the child can be abused online. Now you must be thinking that if whenever we speak about child sexual abuse, there are certain images which comes to our mind, maybe of the abuser, maybe of the person who is getting abused, and that's very common. And I think one such thing which comes to our mind is ki this doesn't happen with this cannot happen with my child, or this happened with people or girls who wear skinny clothes, or who's very revealing and all of that, or who show very sexualized behavior. But that's not true. It can happen with any child. You must have actually recently heard or seen in the news, just 10 days ago there was a news about Muzaffarnagar, how a so-called god man was actually sexually, physically, emotionally abusing boys. These boys apparently were from northeastern states, and they were getting abused. It was happening inside an ashram, and he was a godman who was doing it. So yes, boys also get sexually abused. In fact, the study I mentioned a few minutes back, which was conducted in 2007 by Government of India, revealed that there are 50% equal chances of boys and girls getting sexually abused. Yeah. Then the other thing we might think is, which is a big myth, is that only men sexually abuse. No, that's absolutely a wrong notion. It's also women who sexually abuse. Then we also might think that people who are mentally ill are abusers, but you will be surprised to know that the study has also said that 50% of children knew who the abuser was, who the perpetrator was, which implies that 50% of the children who knew the abuser was someone probably very close to them, a family friend or a neighbor or a relative, or someone who stays in the family, because the child knew about that person. Yeah. So again, they're not some people who live outside this world, or you can easily identify कि मैं इसको देख के बोल सकती हूँ abuser है. ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं होता है. They are just normal people like you and me, and they might abuse the child. Yeah. Then a very popular notion is also कि it's okay, बच्चा भूल जाएगा, बड़े होके तो सब चीज़ें हम भूल जाते हैं eventually, and the child will also forget and all of that. So let me actually ask you a question. अगर कभी आपके साथ कोई ऐसा नेगेटिव इंसिडेंट हुआ बचपन में जिसने आपको बहुत ट्रॉमा दिया हो, या बहुत उसके साथ आपकी एक बहुत सैड मेमोरी जुड़ी हुई हो, आर यू एबल टू फॉरगेट? या ऐसा कभी होता है कि आपको शायद वो यू डोंट रिमेंबर दैट इंसिडेंट एग्जैक्टली, और probably you don't remember it in that chronological order जिसमें वो हुआ, but you will remember some bits of it. Yeah, you will remember कि हो सकता है कुछ trigger आपको जब करता हो, probably some smell or some particular texture or a season. All these will remind you of that incident. So same happens with the child. How can you expect that the child will forget everything? This doesn't happen. Child will never forget what has happened. Yes, what can happen is that the impact can vary. Children who have high self-esteem, children who have a good support system, who got help at the right time intervention was made, for those children, definitely the impact will be less. Probably the memory will be also, kind of fade away, and they will remember tidbits, but they will be able to cope with it. But it doesn't happen with all the children. That's not the case. So every child has a different coping mechanism, and it really depends on other external factors also, which also brings me to another topic, which is how deeply are children impacted. अगर ये इतना है और इतना सीरियस है, तो क्या इसका इम्पैक्ट उतना ज़्यादा सीरियस होता है या उतना ज़्यादा लॉन्ग लास्टिंग होता है? तो हाँ, उसका जवाब है येस, ऐसा होता है. इम्पैक्ट अक्सर जो CSA का देखा गया है, इट हैज़ बीन सीन और नोटिस एट 2 levels. One is your immediate impact, right, which you can see immediately in child's behavior, in his feelings and all of that. And then the other one is the long term impact, which means that the child was a victim of abuse in few years ago, and now still the impact is there and can be seen in their personality and the way they think and the way they're leading their lives. Yeah, so we'll be now talking about how child sexual abuse actually impacts. So let me first talk about immediate impact. Immediate impact क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? So first and the foremost is the child will go in shock or will be confused. It is something which has happened, and someone of a trustworthy person has done it with them, right? So they will feel betrayal, they will feel shocked, they wouldn't know what actually has happened. Also, they might get a lot of confusing signals within themselves, right? So it really depends how the abuser has groomed the child or how the abuser has actually prepared the child. The abuser might say, you are just fantasizing and nothing of this sort has actually happened. This can also happen. So this leaves the child with a feeling of confusion and doesn't know what exactly has happened. Also, a lot of time abuse takes place, and especially when the abuser really invests time in preparing the child, takes place in a way that it's under the umbrella of of love, of protection, of playing with the child and so on. So in any ways the child is very confused कि actually में हुआ क्या है, क्या ये सिर्फ प्यार था या ये abuse था. Then is obviously the child is sad. He's sad by what has happened. उसके बाद होता है anger. बच्चों को बहुत गुस्सा आता है, which is kind of obvious, so chronic irritability or just throwing tantrums or unexpected or uncontrollable feeling of anger, that also happens. Now for example, we had a case wherein the child would just be extremely frustrated and throw a lot of tantrums when this neighbor used to walk in. Later it was discovered that he was the same person who actually had touched the child inappropriately and was abusing. So whenever the child used to see that person, he used to be just out of control. Yeah, so anger is one emotion which is very, very strong. That fear, fear of moving out of places, of spaces, of people, of situation, कि ऐसा फिर से ना हो जाए, that constant fear that this should not happen with me again. So so the child becomes and internalizes the feeling of fear. And then guilt and shame, this is actually guilt or just feeling shameful about the whole incident has a lot to do with our conditioning in India. The way we condition our children कि हम उनको private body parts के names नहीं सिखाते हैं, and whenever they are touching, we will just scold them and give them a real bad look or just shun their hand down that this is not what you're supposed to do, feel embarrassed if they're doing it in front of other people. तो वो सब नॉर्मल है एक पेरेंट का करना, और हम में से ऐसे बहुत सारे पेरेंट्स हैं, इनफैक्ट शायद मैं भी ऐसे ही पहले थी कि हाउ कैन अ चाइल्ड टच देयर प्राइवेट बॉडी पार्ट्स इन फ्रंट ऑफ गेस्ट, मतलब ये तो बिल्कुल एक्सेप्टेड ही नहीं था. But the fact that we don't teach them names, the fact that we do shame things like that, agar even if the child is running around and not wearing his or her pajamas, and then we just go shame, तो वो जो हम shame word है वो हम associate करते हैं private body parts से, और saying things like dirty. All these are words which we are constantly associating and putting in a child's mind, that these are all bad words and all bad areas. You're not supposed to touch, not supposed to feel, not supposed to say anything about them. So when we have conditioned our children in such a way, how do we expect them कि अगर उनके साथ ऐसा कुछ होता है, if someone has touched them at their private body parts, how are we expecting them that they will just come up and say or refuse or go or don't feel confused? They will go all these feelings, right? So all this, we need to change ourselves when it comes to this. We need to change that practice. If we don't want our children to touch, we need to say, beta, these are private body parts and these are very sensitive. So if you get hurt, you will feel you will hurt yourself very badly. So don't touch them like that. If you feel itchy or if you want to touch, you can use the washroom and relieve yourself. So something like that. You need to give them rational, but not make them feel ashamed of, their private body parts. And yes, teach names if possible. If not possible to teach names, if you think you are not comfortable or it's too early, you may have that connotations in mind, then definitely tell them the locations of the private body parts. You can just say private body parts which are covered with undergarments are your body parts which are private, and you are, then you can give that rationale of not touching in front of everyone or whatever. But yes, do not associate the words shame and and dirty with them. That is important. So we spoke about how CSA immediately, child sexual abuse immediately impacts the child, and then there are some long-term impacts as well. And how are suppose when the child grows up in relationships, so the child may be this could happen that they might not trust the other person with whom they are in the relationship, or may have trouble in sustaining the relationship, may have inaccurate judgments of who's good for them, who's not good for them, and so on. Also, as far as their sexuality is concerned, they might become very overly sexual, might have multiple partners, because in their childhood, whenever this kind of episode happened with them, they were made to believe that their self-worth is based on being sexually available. So if they are available for someone, they are worthy, as individuals. So if the person is groomed so strongly, they think that ways even when they grow up. And then, multiple partners and not getting into a healthy sexual relationship, but having relationships with a lot of people, that also can be one of the long-lasting impacts. The other is extremely opposite, aversion to sex. So, because that episode has given them so much negative memories, and, there's this fear, there's feeling of anger, there's feeling of disgust, there's feeling of powerlessness, that just comes to their mind, and they feel the same when such an activity is happening. They might just avoid sexual activity of any kind. And then confused sexual identity can also happen. Suppose if a boy, let me give you an example here, if a boy is abused by a man, and the boy has been groomed very, very strongly, so they might just grow up believing that, am I homosexual? Why did this happen to me? Why does a man did to me? Do I like men? And all of that. So, it can result in a very confused sexual identity. And the last but not the least is that they might become offenders themselves. So it's a very, very small percentage of such cases, but there is a chance. Why? Because when they were sexually abused, they were, they had this feeling of powerlessness. They were not in control of a lot of things, were not in their control, and they had to succumb to the situation. Now, when they become adults, they want to exercise their power, and they also feel that this is very very normal and it happens, so if it has been happening for a number of years, if the child has been groomed really well, so they might also think that it is okay to abuse other people, and they might become offenders. I'm just repeating myself again, it's not that they will become offenders, but yes, there is a very very small percentage that people who are abused might become offenders themselves. Now, when there is such deep impact, when the child is going through so much, you must be wondering कि फिर बच्चे बताते क्यों नहीं हैं, अगर इतना कुछ हो रहा है, उनको इतनी सारी फीलिंग्स आ रही हैं, वो एंगर में भी हैं, उनको डर भी लग रहा है, वो शॉक भी हैं, why can't they just come up and say mama dada this has gone wrong, or this has happened with me? ऐसा क्यों नहीं होता है? ऐसा इसलिए नहीं होता है क्योंकि उसके पीछे भी बहुत सारे रीजंस हैं. द चाइल्ड इज thinks about a lot of things before actually disclosing any kind of an event, and especially something like this. So for example, the child might feel that there is no support system. Now, if the abuser is someone who is within the family, or the family is not aware of something like this, the child might not feel confident to tell it to the parents or anyone around. Yeah, so and especially in this condition, when there is pandemic, schools are closed, children do not have any kind of help. They have limited access to helplines, to NGO workers, to police stations and so on. And if the abuse is happening within the family, then to find time to actually call or ask for help, seek help, that is a problem. So lack of support system is one thing. Then if one of the parent is abusing, for example if the father is abusing, then they might think that if I tell it to mom, or if I disclose it, daddy will just leave us and go away, and we won't be able to function. So they think on a lot of things, before actually coming up and saying. Or maybe they might just think that uncle didn't mean anything bad to me, it just happened by chance. And also uncle said that it was a game, it's a secret game between you and me. So उनका ऐसा कोई मतलब नहीं था, वो गलती से हो गया उनसे, just made me feel uncomfortable, made me feel weird, but it's okay. So they might also again if the grooming is strong, तो disclosure के chance उतने ही ज़्यादा कम हो जाते हैं. उसके बाद I don't want to make mom dad upset, or she's a very good friend with mom, I can't spoil their relationship. Something like mom dad won't believe me, क्योंकि अगर घर में कोई है या नेबर है, so it becomes very difficult. And if they're very close to the parents, तो पेरेंट्स के लिए एक बार में विश्वास करना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता है. सो दे माइट जस्ट थिंक कि नहीं वो मुझ पे विश्वास नहीं करेंगे. एंड द मोस्ट critical of all is that it was my fault. The child might think that I should have not gone to that place, I should have avoided, I should have not I should have fought back, shouted, whatever. So the child has kind of internalized this feeling that it was my fault. And if the abuser is also aware, they will just train or groom the child in such a manner that child will think that it's my fault. तो ये ऐसा भी हो सकता है. Then I didn't get hurt. The child might feel I didn't get hurt, but I was a bit uncomfortable. पर मुझे कुछ हुआ तो नहीं है, I'm absolutely fine, no bruises, no nothing. तो ये भी सोच सकते हैं. Then the child might also like the abuse or the abuser. This can also be one of the conditions where the child likes that person because the grooming is so strong, the person has given gifts, all kind of material things, the person has really given the child so many compliments, the child feels wanted when he or she is with them. So they develop such a strong emotional bond that is difficult to go against them. And the child might just feel कि नहीं मुझे ठीक लग रहा है. The child might also enjoy the abuse, enjoy the touch, or the whole process, and at the end of the day just feel that it was my fault, and just internalize that feeling, as I said. So at any point of time, it's very, very important for us parents, for parents like you and me, to understand that even if the child likes the abuser, even if the child likes the abuse, the touch, the process, it's not child's fault. Yeah, it's never the child's fault, even if they like it. So that is something which is important for us to know. अब जब हमने ये देखा है कि इतना ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट है और बच्चे तब भी नहीं बोल पाते हैं, सो एज पेरेंट्स वी नीड टू बी अ लिटिल मोर कॉशियस एंड अ लिटिल मोर विजिलेंट, and look for some signs or some symptoms which are unusual, which the child is showing. And then I'm not saying abuse ही हुआ है, but yes, it's important to then talk about them. Yeah. So for example, anything which is unusual happening, let's talk about behavioral indicators. For example, the child has started to socially withdraw. तो वो देख नहीं रहे हैं कि वो they have gone in their nutshell, close themselves in their rooms, do not meet their friends, do not like to go out, play in neighborhood, school नहीं जाना है. तो ये सब symptoms हैं of social withdrawal. That means they don't want to face the world outside, right? Then increase anger or aggression, overly pleasing behavior. The abuser has made them realize if you please, you will be accepted. तो अगर वो they are going out of the way to please adults, with that feeling that if I just don't say no or do everything which adults are saying, I will be accepted in a much, much better way. Yeah. So all these are some behavioral symptoms. Or if the child has started doing exceptionally well in studies, or is doing has the performance has gone down drastically, so these are also some indicators which can guide you to talk to your child once and not go to any conclusion yourself. So it's important to intervene here. Then some psychological factors like eating and sleeping disorder, eating less, eating more, sleeping less, sleeping more. This could be one. Anxiety, indifference, depression, suicidal attempts. All these are psychological factors. Then we have some physical factors, and one of the main physical factors is psychosomatic illness. It's a illness where both mind and body are involved. So you see physical symptoms, you feel stress, you feel pain in the body, but the reason is not a medical one. It is more to do with psychology. Like you must have experienced ना, जब जैसे कोई important result आता था exam का, तो कैसे you have anxiety and butterflies in your stomach, sometimes you have stomach ache just before the exam. Some people get fever. Now there is no external factor to get that fever. It's basically stress in your mind and your body is reacting in that way. So psychosomatic illness can also happen. There could be swelling or pain, especially in genital areas, then repeated urinary infections. So these are all physical symptoms or indicators which can prompt you to intervene. Some sexual indicators can be overly sexualized behavior, so extremely becoming the dressing style changes, a lot of sexual content in the language and so on, use of abusive language. So anything which you think is unnatural, which is not the way your child used to behave, there is a need to talk to the child. And some definite indicators are pregnancy, is sexually transmitted diseases, and if the child comes up and tells you themselves. So that is one thing. These were all signs and symptoms of children. Yeah. Now as adults also, we need to be very vigilant of people around us in today's time. So if you find anything which is unnatural in people who are visiting your home, there might be a chance that they are thinking of something on these lines. So don't jump to the conclusion that these are abusers and they will just abuse your child. No, that's not true. But yes, if any kind of behavior in adults, which I will talk about, is seen, then you just need to become much more aware and vigilant. For example, someone getting expensive gifts for the child every time they come, or just loading the child with gifts and material things, offering time to spend with the child, and especially alone time, so babysitting, visiting you at the times when you are not at home, spending extraordinary time with the child and not spending time with adults, but just focusing on the child. Every time saying he's my best friend and all of that, and we have a special relationship and so on and so forth. We play a very secret game, things like that. Then their language, if there's a lot of sexual content in their language, if they joke about children's private body parts or their body, past comments, or if you've noticed that they sexually fantasize children and so on. So there is a need to be a little more vigilant. Again, I'm not saying these are abusers and they will abuse the child, but yes, you might suspect something. So yeah, either talk to them or just protect your children. In fact, we had a case, wherein the family friend used to touch the child inappropriately. So child disclosed, and when we spoke to the parents could actually connect the dots and said, yes, this person used to visit us so often and always used to get gifts for the child. Also, he used to come at the time when we were either leaving the house or something like that, so that they can spend time with the child. So it's later we realized, but it's good to know all these things beforehand so that you can prevent your child in a much better way. Now, after if you suspect and all of that, and if the child comes up and tells you, then how to handle disclosure. This is extremely important, handling disclosure. Now, the first and the foremost thing, if the child comes up to you, is to listen to the child and not ignore. If the child is saying that I need help, don't say acha abhi nahi, abhi mere paas time nahi hai, let me cook, let me wash, all of that. You need to prioritize and give your child time and listen to the child. Yeah, so be affirming. Give if the child is saying something, just say that I know it's not easy, and you are very brave that you are sharing this with me. So affirm the child's feeling on the first go. Believe the child. They will rarely make up stories. This will not happen most likely. So believe whatever they are saying. Tell them that whatever has happened, I believe you, and it was not your fault. You should just keep on reinforcing this. Reassure the child that you will support them, you will give them help. Now that they've told you, you are there with them in this journey. Yeah, empathize. Say things like, it must have been so hard for you. I can imagine how difficult it was for you, and even to share at this point of time. I know you must have felt so overwhelmed, but thank you for sharing. And so give them signals that you are there with them, and you completely empathize with them. Don't show sympathy, show empathy. Yeah, be truthful and be honest with whatever you are saying. So here, don't make false promises. If you can't do something, if the child is saying, promise me you won't tell it to anyone and then I will tell you, don't say yes, I won't tell it and it's just between you and me. No, the child's trust has already been broken once, and that cannot happen again. Yeah, so just say, that if need arises, I might have to share it with one or two people who can help us out. So आपको ऐसे करना है, आपको अब फेक प्रोमिसेस बिल्कुल नहीं करने हैं, बिकॉज you will also feel overwhelmed. So don't do any promises like that. Avoid touching the child, because in most cases of CSA, the touch is a very important component, and if in any case you want to tap on the child's back or something like that, just seek permission. Prepare the child for what will happen next. So a plan of action, make sure it's confidential, ensure the child that it will be between a few of us, and nothing will be leaked out. Identify child support system. If you are the parent, you might need other people's help, so identify that. Identify your own support system also. As parents, it might be very difficult to hear something like this and to experience your child going through. So if you need counseling or any kind of that, identify those systems. Yeah, and just don't react suddenly. If it's online abuse, take screenshots and keep all your files saved for evidence. Yeah. what not to do. This was all what to do, and then what not to do. Please do not overreact or panic. The child will tell you everything based on what he or she is getting. He's actually seeing your reaction. Yeah, so if you are overreacting, if you are becoming panicking, throwing like, of course you will feel angry, frustrated, all of that will happen, but it's really important to stay calm and show that in your body language, so that the child feels comfortable and is able to share the whole thing with you. You never know, the child says something, sees your reaction, and goes into a denial zone. That can also happen. So just be confident of that and be calm. Do not blame the child, like, I told you not to go there, and why did you do this, why did you do that, all of that. You should have done this, and how many times have I told you, it was your fault. Please do not blame the child. Do not pressurize the child to keep on to acha phir kya hua, uske baad kya hua. So don't get into that interrogative mode of asking questions. Oh, what time was it, and which room was you being abused? Don't go there. Give the child space, and child will tell you everything. But just don't go into that mode of questioning and asking n number of questions to the child. And last but very, very important, don't confront the child in front of the abuser. See, it's important for us to understand that the abuser is someone who is powerful over the child. So in any case, confrontation won't help. In fact, it might put the child in danger. So please, please, please do not confront the child in front of the abuser. Now, after all this, after you've handled and all, but somewhere prevention is the most important thing. Why? Because you can't be with the child 24/7. The child will go out, to play, he will go to school and so on. तो हमेशा बच्चे के साथ रहना और उसको प्रोटेक्ट करना पॉसिबल नहीं है. And that is not also what we are saying. What we are saying is to make child independent of their protection and prevention. And there comes Arpan's flagship program, which is our personal safety education program, which has been gone across to lakhs of students now. The main aim of this life skill module is to empower children so that they can protect themselves. It's basically done by imparting age appropriate knowledge, giving age appropriate information. We work with children's skills, we work with their attitude, and it's about building their self-esteem and preventing themselves from child sexual abuse. We also reach out to adults in the same manner, and we make them aware of their role in child protection. So Arpan's eLearn, which is www.arpanelearn.com, is a platform where you will get all the resources for children and adults. So we have resources ranging from a child of 4 years old till about 13 years old. And then we have also very, very good and informative resources for adults. You can't just suddenly be talking about personal safety to a child. You need to have some content to talk about that. So you can definitely go through our website. For the younger ones, for 4 to 7 years, we have a flip book called My Safety Book. Then from 8 to 13 years, we have interactive videos. The main message which these videos give, or these books tell us, is one, it helps them to identify what are safe and unsafe touches, both touches or situations, offline and online. Then helps them to refuse unsafe situations and get away from there. Helps them to understand and identify their support system or their support network, and make them understand that it was not their fault, whatever has happened. So these are 45 minutes interactive videos. I would urge you all to go to our website, which is www.arpanelearn.com, and make your child go through these videos. These are very independent videos, so even child can go alone. You can just sit beside them. And there are FAQ books, there are caregivers book for people, for adults, not for children. So you can go through that, read those books, and you can then also answer a lot of questions which we feel uncomfortable as parents. So a lot of good material is there for adults and children. After our personal safety education, which we have been doing in schools, we have had children disclosing about abuse within their family, in their neighborhood, and so on. How people, in context of love and protection and just playing with them, they abuse the child. We have had children disclosing about abuse in school, how this one person used to abuse a lot of children, and after that, in the parent session, parents also disclose that on this particular day, when they have this session, children don't want to go to school, and they say aaj pet mein dard ho raha hai, sar mein dard ho raha hai, and so on. So we have a lot of cases, and children have benefited from this program a lot. So yes, if we talk about prevention, personal safety education is the thing to do right now. It's e-learn, it's available from anywhere in the world, it's absolutely free of cost, so please do visit our website. But for this session, I would like to give you some some tips which you can keep in mind, and especially online, क्योंकि आजकल बच्चे online बहुत ज़्यादा time spend कर रहे हैं. So these are some safety tips जो आप ध्यान में रख सकते हो as parents, and this will help you. So for example, let's acknowledge our kids know much more than we know. Yeah. So it's okay, and it's good to acknowledge that. So understand technology, understand the new apps which are coming, read about them, experiment with them, download them, or whatever apps your children are using, especially those. So get comfortable with technology, with your phones and so on. Put filters, put parental filters, use pop-up blockers so that not unnecessary pop-ups are showing on your computer screen and so on. Upgrade your system, your computer and all of that, so that you are prevented from any kind of virus entering. Then communicate about online safety. Talk to your children that online is also one medium where you can be fooled or you can be abused. So don't share any kind of personal information, especially with someone who are strangers. Teach them what are the limits, and teach them empathy, teach them respect, that it's important, like it's important you respect yourself, it's also important to respect other person's privacy. So bullying and all such things can be prevented. Set some ground rules, set some easy rules, like screen time is limited to 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, or something like that. Place your laptop or computers in such a way that you can easily view what's happening. Just by doing your own work, you can see what the child is doing, and not just like police the child by standing over their head, but just have a good idea. Check their history once in a while. The history is clear, that means there's something wrong, because generally we don't people don't have the habit of clearing the history every now and then. So if it's absolutely clear, yes, there is something, you need to now look into the matter and talk to your child. And just Google things, go to YouTube, you will find all the videos, how to put checks on your phone or on your system and all of that. So yeah, do that. These were all some safety tips and some prevention methods. Still, if you have heard any case of abuse, or if it's happened with the child and you want to go legal, then we have a very good law by the name of POCSO, which is Prevention of Children from Sexual Offences. This is a very unique law. It came in 2012. It was amended in 2019. Why is it unique? It is gender neutral, so it takes in complaints of boys and girls both. Earlier, because most of the laws were related to girls and was related to rape, but this is one law which takes into its purview contact and non-contact abuse. It works for the best. It works in the best interest of the child. So our court has the right to judge what is best for the child. If home is not safe for the child, the court has the right to take the decision that the child needs to be shifted to somewhere else, to a safe institution. Yeah. It covers all kind of abuses, as I said. It also so child, according to this law, is anyone who is below 18 years of age. So any kind of sexual offense which has happened with such a child can be reported. It doesn't cover other kind of abuses like physical, emotional, and all of that. That doesn't cover. It's only about sexual offenses. It has a lot of it has major offenses like penetrative sexual assault, where penetration is happening, any outside body entering the any outside object entering the body. Then it has aggravated penetrative sexual assault, which means aggravated, the laws says a lot of conditions which are aggravated. For example, if the child is below 12 years of age, or has lost his life, or someone in the position of trust or responsibility has done something to the child, like a police officer, or a doctor, or a parent, and so on. So that is aggravated. That's like the most extreme form of abuse. Then we also have sexual assault, which is no penetration but touch. So touching anywhere on the body with the sexual context. Then we also have sexual harassment, which doesn't involve any touch as such, but showing pornography, or online abuse, or just watching the child undressing and so on, like that, the body parts and all. And then we also have pornography, so storing child pornography, distributing it, and for commercial purposes, making child pornography, all that comes into its account. And also abetment is when the person is not committing but is helping the criminal to commit the offense, taking care no one enters the room when the abuse is happening, and so on. So that person is also an equal criminal to the offense. Also, where you can report to various places, like police station, child welfare committee. Then we have childline is a government helpline, which the number is 1098. So you can call and you can report any kind of abuse. Specifically for online abuses, we have NCPCR portal, we have cyber cell portal. All these are government portals. You can go and report there any kind of cyber related safety. Yeah. And if you require any kind of help, I will just write down Arpan's helpline number. You can call as parents, as adult survivors, if you know someone who's been abused and needs help. So we do provide counseling services for that as well. This was all I wanted to talk about child sexual abuse. I will just, if you have any questions, you can put them down. I can take up a few questions. Just a second. Yes, I think. Yes, any questions are welcome. Anything you want me to repeat again or to talk about? Yes, I think I've got a question. Is it one of the reasons that child's no so there is a question on child's dressing sense. As I told you, there is no relation to how a child is dressed. There is no relation to the sex of the child or the age of the child. Abuse can happen to anyone. Of course, there are a group of people who are more vulnerable, who are not getting enough parental eye on them, or are special needs children, or children in mostly vulnerable backgrounds in institutions and so on. So those are more vulnerable, but definitely not like it can happen with any child. Yeah, so yes, is any kind of training required in schools? We do program which is personal safety education with schools. So that is done with children, with adults, with teachers. We have our training program. So we provide information on personal safety and how you can actually take lesson plans in classes and handle disclosures. So that is a training program which happens with teachers and with NGO professionals and so on. So yes, there is some kind of training required, but your the eLearn is the best platform right now. So you can just go on to our website and yeah, your children can go through our videos. I will also give you the our in the comments section. Just write our. Oh yes, I can see. I can see some comments. Thank you. Oh, so there's a question that should we take our children out for counseling if abuse happens, and in lockdown, what can we do? In lockdown, what you can do is not probably take your children outside because it's not safe. So you can call our helpline number, which I will be just posting in the comments section. So you can just call on this number and seek help. Um, Here you go. So I've shared the number. You can easily call us. This is Arpan's helpline number. I've also tagged Arpan, and I will also share our eLearn website so that you can easily go and make your children learn about how to protect themselves. Yes, I will take a few more questions. Thank you for watching this and gaining out of it. Is parents, volunteer, and teacher education available online by Arpan? Yes, you can come in contact with us, and we are conducting trainings online for volunteers and parents, and we're conducting awareness sessions. So you can get in touch with us, you can email us, and we can then probably just get in touch with you. And if you want, you can organize a training or an awareness session for a group of parents, volunteers, or teachers. Of course, we do that. Okay, I think I'm not able to view all the comments. There are a lot, but I can see some. Do you conduct any common sessions for residential complexes? Yes, we do. So you need to get in touch, and you can organize probably a Zoom call or something, and then we can have awareness sessions for parents and caregivers in your society. So that can, yes, that happens. Any other questions related to child sexual abuse, I will be pleased to answer them. Please, if you have any doubts, even later, you can just post your comments, and I think First Cry will get in touch with us, and then we can answer your queries. But for now, if you have anything specific, anything you thought I missed in the session, please do get back to us, and we'll be happy to answer. what is the portal for lodging online abuses? So there are a lot of portals, as I mentioned. There is one portal by cybercrime.gov.in. Then there is National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. Then there is also online on you can report on arambindia.org. So these are, even if you Google cybercrime reporting, you will get a list of portals, and you can easily go and report. Some of the portals also allow you to report anonymously. So if there's anything you want to report related to online, you can do that. Yeah. We look for sure, I will just message you for training. I will message you my ID, and you can just email to us, or Arpan's ID, and you can yeah, email to us for any kind of training related or any session related query. We'll be happy to get back to you. Does eLearn needs any training? No, eLearn does not need any training. These are very independent interactive videos, so they do not need any kind of training. You can easily go onto the website, and your child can just go through the videos. You can sit beside them and make them do it. It's about 40-45 minute video, but no special training needed for children. So yeah. Anjana ji has asked, please name some training videos. We don't have training videos. We have videos for children to learn. And Sneha has just posted Arpan's eLearn website. So you can just log in there, go there, and make your child go through those. So yeah. We have modules for 8 to 11 years old, 8 to 10 years old, and 11 to 13 years old, and also a flip book for 4 to 7 years old as mentioned. So you can go there. I would request Sneha, if you can also give Arpan's email ID, where people can post, email us for any kind of queries related to training or awareness session. So please, if you can write that down on the comments section, that will be very, very useful. Okay, I am looking for some more questions. So if you have further questions, you can get back to us, and you can put it in the comments section, and we'll be happy to reply even later. Thank you so much for participating in today's session. It was a wonderful experience to talk about CSA on such a good platform, where parents are, intrigued to know about it more and more. Follow FirstCry Parenting for more such informative sessions and topics. Also, don't forget to share with other parents. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.